Hi everyone, I'm Keric. This practice is focused on lengthening the sides of the body, which for me, it's often neglected in my practice. It's not always obvious to stretch the sides of the body in a lot of the yoga poses that I do. And so just an awareness practice in getting length, mainly from the hip, like the hip crease, all the way up to the armpit is where we're trying to get that length. So the intercostals, the little muscles between the ribs, and then the obliques, kind of your side abdominals, will stretch through there. You'll get a little bit of hopefully lengthening in your low and mid back as well. But we'll really focus on this side body, maybe some of the muscles in the shoulders too. Okay, so turn to one side, and then let's start in down dog. Spread your fingers wide, set your hands about as wide as your outer shoulders, and then feet about hip-width apart behind you. And then lift your arms up and soften your heart towards the ground. Keep the rib cage pulled in and up, and then really just lengthen your spine. From your heart, push out through your hands, and from your heart, stretch back through your hips. And you start to lengthen the spine as well as the sides of the body. Just a couple of breaths here. Full stretch long. So stretch both sides of your body evenly, okay? The left and the right, again, from hips to armpits, long. Push out through the hands and push your hips back. Look forward and step your right foot forward, and you'll be facing me, and I'll face you. I'm going to grab a block since this is the first pose. Bend your front knee to a square, knee over the heel, pretty much a 90-degree angle in the front leg. You can place your hand on a block, or if you don't have a block, just put your forearm on your thigh. And we're just going to start by creating a really long line from the back heel to the fingertips. So even though I'm focusing on stretching, again, really from the hip to the armpit, lengthening through there, getting that side body opening, I'm going to extend the energy even beyond the side body all the way down and out through my foot and all the way up and forward through my top hand. So I'm looking for a straight line from my back heel to my top hand. All right, point your pinky down and take your thumb up. It's like you're trying to shake hands with someone in front. And then draw the top of the thigh back, pull your rib cage in. So it's not a back bend, okay? You're not pushing your chest forward into a back bend. We're really working on opening the side of the body. And to make this long line. The focal point is the center of the hips. So from your hips, push down and back through the back foot. And then from your hips, reach up and forward through the top hand. Big side stretch. Again, opening up the little muscles between the ribs, the intercostals, and then getting into the obliques, so the muscles that wrap around here. All right, and then big opening. One more breath. And I'm just going to come up to standing here. So straighten the front leg, turn the front foot in, and turn the back foot out. And we'll just do the same pose facing the other direction. Bend the knee. Again, if you have props, you're welcome to put the hand on the prop, or if you don't, put your forearm on your thigh. You could take the hand all the way to the ground and get a bigger opening in the hips, but not the main focus of today's practice. Really just getting into the side body. And then really, this is a great way to warm up before a workout, especially if you're working lats, doing pull-ups, any kind of pulling motion, so climbers. This would be a great warm-up. Also, anyone who has to throw an object, a ball, swinging, hitting, swinging a tennis racket, swinging and hitting a volleyball, just really getting the opening and the length in the side body here will give you, the more open you are, the more flexible you are, it'll give you more power through your throw or in your swing. All right. From your hips, push down and back through the back foot. From the hips, stretch up and forward through the top hand. Turn the pinky down and point the thumb up. Draw the inner armpit back, and then twist. Chest faces the side of the mat. And then from your hips, push back through the back foot. From your hips, stretch up through the top hand. One more breath. And then inhale, come up to stand. Just heel toe your feet in. All right, and then my intention is really just to get a little bit more intense with each pose. So now stand on your left foot and pull the right foot up. We're going to do a little balance. You can just put your heel on your ankle if your balance is a little off today, or put your foot on your calf, I'm going to put my foot to the inner thigh. The one place I'm going to have you avoid is your knee. So place your foot higher or lower than the knee. I'm having a hard time balancing. Squeeze your legs, and then stretch your arms. If your balance is way off today, just put both feet on the ground, and you can do this stretch. So grab your left wrist with your right hand, squeeze your legs, hold your balance, and then start to tilt to the right. All right, draw the inner arm bones back, draw your rib cage in. So again, you're not twisting and doing a back bend, right? So just not really the point of today's practice. Keeping the pose drawn in front to back, and then focusing on the side stretch. Okay, so now pull on your wrist. From your hips, push down into the standing foot, and then stretch out through the top arm. Again, if you don't want to work on the balance, you can make this pose a lot easier by just stepping both feet to the ground and working on the side body opening. All right, rib cage in, pull the arm back. From your hips, push down into the feet. From your hips, reach up through the top hand. So actively expand the pose. Inhale to the middle, switch to the second side. So the main action here is the focal point in all the standing poses is the center of the hips. So from the hips, root down, and then from the hips, lift up and out through the top arm. And then the extension follows the arc of the stretch of your side bend. And I'm not very flexible this way, so some of you will get almost parallel to the ground as you lean to the side. That is not me. This is pretty tough for me. I don't do this enough. Draw your left hip, your left rib cage, and your left shoulder back, and then you can kick your hips out to the side and lean to the left. And I don't have to lean very far to get a good stretch here. Now I can get a better stretch in my side body when I'm more stable, so I'm going to put both feet down for a moment. So you can choose to add the balance, make it a little more challenging, or not, right? And then focus on the side body opening. From your hips, push down into your feet. From your hips, reach up through the top hand. Only one more breath. Inhale to come up. All right, let's take the feet wide again. I'm going to keep my block handy. Turn your right foot out. And again, hopefully you're facing me and I'm facing you. So I'm mirroring you. All right. Both legs straight for triangle pose. All right. I'm going to place the block a little bit behind my heel. So my hand is right under my shoulder, right? If I put the block in front of my heel or right next to it, there's a longer extension. So I want to keep the alignment. I'm basically making it as easy as possible for myself. Hand under the shoulder. All right, let's start with the top arm up for a moment. Squeeze your legs, make your legs strong. Draw your shoulders back. We're going to go back to that side body stretch. So now I'm going to sweep the top arm towards the front of the mat. And again, I have my palm facing behind me and my thumb up. So you can think thumbs up. And then reach out like you're ready to shake hands with someone in front of you. All right, now roll the top shoulder back to open the chest towards the sides. Right? From your hips, push down and back through both feet. From your hips, push out through both feet. Draw the top shoulder back. And then from your hips, reach out through the top hand. Reach like the person you're trying to shake hands with is just out of reach. Good big stretch on the side body. Rotate the chest to face the side of the mat. The tendency will be to drop in. Right? Twist and look up. One more breath. So on this one, I feel this lower here. Less in my rib cage, and it pulls the stretch a little bit lower on my body. All right, inhale to stand. Turn the front foot in. Turn the back foot out. If you feel the stretch in a slightly different place than I'm describing, that's okay. I think it's really just going to depend on where you're tight. Right? Okay, so triangle. Some of you are going to put your hand on the ground. Touch the floor behind the heel. I'm just taking it easy today. I'm not really looking to challenge my legs very much in this practice. I really just want to open the sides of my body. All right, reach the top arm up. From your hips to your armpits, lengthen both sides of your body. The top side you kind of get for free. That's why we're doing this pose. But the bottom side, make it long too. Reach your shoulder forward, draw the shoulder head back, tack your hip back,
And then make the bottom side long, then reach the top arm, sweep the arm over your ear, thumb point up, pinky down, thumb up, draw the arm back. From your hips, push down and out through both feet, and then twist. From their hips, stretch out through the top arm. And then just breathe into the stretch, wherever that might be, in the side body, through the obliques, up into the intercostals. One more breath. Stretch long. Inhale to stand. Come all the way up. All right, turn both feet in. Let's move back to down dog. So I'm going to just turn my foot out. Downward facing dog. All right, this is one of my favorite stretches, and I almost do this every time I'm in down dog. So set your feet about hip width apart. If you're on a yoga mat, cut your mat roughly in 3 equal portions with your feet. If you're not on a yoga mat, as you look at your feet should be separated by, I don't know, about 2 foot widths, or let's call it 6 to 8 inches between the feet. All right, lift your arms up and press your heart low. Now, keep your hands and your feet where they are. The hands and feet don't move at all. Just turn your hips, push your hips to the left. So you're swinging your hips to the left and you're turning your hips to the left. So the left hip is pulling slightly forward and the right hip is pushing back. So my hips are square towards the back corner of the mat. And then my outer left hip is hanging off the left edge of my mat. So if you were to look at me from above, the left hip is really wide. Right? I'll show you from this angle. So I'm not just shifting my hips this way, like leaning. I'm turning my hips to the side and poking my hips back. Right? And the intention is now to get a stretch on the side body. So hips to the left. From your heart, push out through your right hand, and then open up all of the muscles on the right side of the body. For this one, for me, I feel this higher up through the intercostals and right under the right arm. So it's a shoulder stretch. I get into the rib cage. I feel it a little bit in the obliques, but not nearly as much as the triangle pose we were doing earlier. All right, shift the hips the other way. So hopefully you'll see here, again, it's not just sliding my hips to the side. I'm turning my hips to the side. So pardon me for sticking my butt out at you, but I'm going to turn my hips that way towards the camera, towards you. All right. And then I'm moving my hips to the side. Okay. So there's a difference between just sliding your hips laterally and like turning your hips. So your hips are pointing towards the back corner of the mat. All right. You should feel a big stretch on the left side. From your heart, push out through the left hand. From your heart, push back into the right through your sit bones, through your butt, if you want to put it that way. Big stretch on the left side. Inhale back to the middle. Look forward and walk your feet into a forward bend. Set your feet about hip width apart. Let's just open the shoulders just a little bit. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Now, from your hips to your armpits, get long. So instead of crunched here, I'm going to lengthen the side body, widen your shoulders, and then reach your hands over your head, and then get up into the shoulders. Just a couple of breaths. One more. And then release both hands to the ground. I'm going to turn to face you. So from all fours, come onto your hands and knees. And you can face whatever direction is easiest for you. From all fours, step your left foot out to the side. And so you're centered with the right leg perpendicular to the floor, the thigh perpendicular to the floor, the other leg out to the side. I'm going to put this hand down and stretch my top arm up over my ear. So on this leg, I don't know if you can see, I have the foot down. It's just, you might not be able to see it behind my knee. All right, and I'm doing this long side stretch here. If you want a bigger challenge here, you can move into a side plank pose and take your top arm up over your ear, okay? The easier variation will be here. So here I can just focus just on the side stretching. As soon as I make it harder and go to the side plank, now a lot of my attention and my effort is going into holding myself up, right? But I can get a really big opening here. Push your hips up, reach your hand low, create an arc or an arch here, and stretch the side body. One more breath. Okay, and then come down. Starting on all fours. So the reason that I showed you the two variations is on this second side, I have a knee injury that I'm protecting right now. So I didn't want to stay in this position very long with my knee down. So my option is to work harder and keep the knee lifted up. All right, so go to a little shorter stance here and then stretch. So you can have your right knee down or your left knee down or not. All right, hips up, reach the top arm up and over, arch, big arch, like you're creating this bridge, this big curve, just stretch through the side body. Nice and long. From your hips, push back through your feet. From your hips, reach out through your fingertips and look up. Inhale to come down. Okay, and then last pose. Come into child's pose. I'm gonna face you. Toes touch behind you and knees wide. And stretch your arms forward. And then assuming that you're on your mat, that you're facing this way on your mat, take your hands off to the side. Let's take the hands to the right. So both hands will be off of the mat, and you can keep your head on your mat, forehead on the ground, on the side of the mat, and then push your hips back, especially your left hip, tack the left hip back, and then from your hips, push out through the left hand, and then start to open up all of the little muscles on the left side of your body. And then I'm feeling this a little higher now, up through the intercostals. Grab the wrist, pull on the wrist. As I pull on the wrist, I feel the stretch more towards the rib cage. And then if I focus on tacking my hip back, I can get the stretch back a little bit lower into the obliques and maybe the low back just a little bit. All right, walk the hands back to the middle and then take them the other way. So hands off the mat to the left side. Head down on the mat. You're at the far edge of the mat with your head. And then grab your right wrist with your left hand. And you can pull. Another thing you can do to enhance the stretch is to simply breathe into the stretch. So inhale more into your left lung than your right lung. Expand the left lung to the left. That's probably going to give you the stretch more in the intercostals, in the rib cage. Again, the intercostals are the little muscles between the ribs. All right, or you can take it lower than that. Breathe into your side abdominals and then tack your right hip back. See if you can move the stretch lower into the obliques. And again, you might feel a little bit of a lengthening in the low back, which is a good thing too. All right, inhale back to the middle. Come up to seated. Let's do just one more stretch. All right, so even just 20 minutes of stretching, and I'm already working pretty hard, just to open the sides of the body. Nothing fancy today, nothing super strenuous, but I'm really working the actions. The main action is either tacking the hip back or stretching from the hips through the legs, and then from the hips stretching out through the top arm, whatever position it might be. So here's the last side stretch that we'll do. Just sit cross-legged facing me, and take your left hand out to the side. Reach your right arm up over your ear. Now when you're doing this, all of these stretches, really, but they're in most of the stretches that I did throughout this practice, they were very active. And the last two that I did, the child's pose with the curve, and now this one, there's a tendency in these last two poses, I feel, to really just kind of relax and hang out here and disengage and just let gravity kind of take over here. And that kind of feels good, actually. But then I don't want to overstretch. You can pull these muscles
through the side body, especially if you're really tight, which I am. So, I've done that before. I've pulled muscles in the side of the body. It doesn't feel good. So I'm going to stay pretty engaged here. So I'm drawing from my hand down into my hips. I keep the muscles active while I'm stretching them, okay? And then I can bend the elbow. I can reach the top arm over. And so I'm simultaneously contracting the muscles and stretching out through my top hand and stretching the muscles. All right, inhale to come up. Place the right hand down. Reach the right arm out. So you can imagine the energy drawing from my top hand down into my hips, and then at the same time, an opposite energy stretching up and out through my fingertips. So keep your right hip on the mat, tack it down, and that will help the energy flow go from the top down. It'll keep you engaged in the side body. And then at the same time, then I'm keeping my right hip down, and then I'm stretching over, actually my left hip down, and then stretching over to the side. Big stretch. All right, inhale to the middle. Yeah, and then so it already feels so much better for me. Like I feel like I can breathe a little more easily. My side body feels longer. My posture feels better. I'm ready to get on with the rest of my day. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this practice. Side body long, often overlooked. So a great practice. I hope this helps your workouts. I hope it helps your game. Okay, thank you. I will see you next time.